Well, everyone, no formal introductions here. This is probably one of the most interesting but tough videos for me to do because I'll get emotional. As you know, I'm celebrating 40 years being in the financial service business, and my next guest, who's really not a guest, it's really just a friend, gave me my start. So for all you those that wish you never met me, this is the guy you got to get even with, not me. I'm talking to Bob Knapp. Bob, welcome.
Hi, thank you, Peter.
Well, 40 years ago, it was a little more than 40 years ago, I was a warehouse manager thinking about getting in the business, started an investors club. You were the president of your own brokerage firm, and you came to that meeting. What happened?
Well, we came to the meeting, my wife at the time, and we came in just to see who you were and what was going on. And we got there, and I guess there was about 20, 25 people there, and it was your investment club that you had. And I was very impressed. I thought you were doing a good job, and you were actually at that time uh, talking about an area that I was very invested in, gold area. And we talked a little bit. And I said, if you really want to change jobs, and I think you were good enough to do that, uh, give me a call, and we'll see what we can do for you. Take the test and go from there.
Well, I took the test. I went to work for you. We could spend all day talking about a couple of people we worked with, strange guys, including Mr. Burke, that when he rubbed his hair with both hands, we knew we were being totally lied to.
That's right.
And then, of course, Bob Trouse, who was the opposite, a great guy. And we just talked about one day we counted, he drank 23 cups of coffee in one day.
We don't know how we did it either.
But Bobby, you had faith in me. Yeah, we actually worked together when I had my own brokerage firm, and just a great man. But the thing about it, if you don't mind, other than just bringing that up, you as you brought up, you were considered back then, and this was the early 1980s to mid 80s. You were considered one, if not the biggest gold stockbroker in the nation. I mean, you wrote a gold newsletter. I remember that, and
Right, go good news.
you ran
Yep.
money for big guys, and you were very involved in gold. And if you remember, that was just gold back briefly to 800 or 900, and it was already coming back at that time. What has changed, if you don't mind me asking this, what has changed in the gold market in 40 years, Bobby?
I think what's happened is there's a lot of people involved in gold, and they they traded it and thought it was the end of the end and be all of investing. Now what's happened is I think there's so many other things that people invest in, and I'm talking about commodities, other commodities besides gold. Now you've got uh, the stock market, which is going crazy. We're up to almost 40,000 on the Dow, and the interest is not really there in the gold like that it used to be. People wanted to invest in something and they wanted gold. I think they should still do it, but they're not doing it.
So let me just ask you this. You talked about 40,000. What was it, 27 years the Dow traded between 700 and 1,000? Did you ever in your imagination, seriously, going back then, and of course, even when I came along, did you ever think 40,000 was possible on the Dow?
I remember sitting in my office and we celebrated. We actually got a bottle of champagne when it broke 10,000. So that show you how long ago that was.
Uh, so let me ask you this. Do you have, if someone asks you, should I buy gold? Yes or no? And where do you, what kind of prices do you think possibly we could see in the next couple of years?
I would have to say I'm still in the area of there should be a certain percentage of gold in your portfolio, whether we're talking 5, 10% or whatever, hard gold and maybe some of the stocks. Unfortunately, I was really not unfortunately, but I was big on the South African gold shares, and they're not really that big anymore.
Mm.
I think it should still be there. Now we've got right now gold is what trading around a little under 2,100. I think we could still see 2,500 to 3,000, and if that happens, well, it could go on from there. The one thing I'm not upset about, but I can't understand with all the problems we're having around the world with the different wars and the craziness of this election that's coming up, that people aren't thinking about putting some of the money in gold, you know?
Bobby, do you think it's because the younger people are hooked on what I consider, and I didn't even talk to you about this. I think it's the biggest hype product ever, Bitcoin, but many other cryptocurrencies, they seem to think that's the answer for those problems, not gold.
I I was gonna mention crypto. I think I do not believe in cryptocurrencies, but I saw it come what up to 50,000, 60,000, back down to the 15,000 to 20,000. It's all over the place, and I still believe that it's not the hard currency that gold is,
Yeah.
and that's the way I feel.
Yeah, and it's not a currency we give it. Well, listen, what I would like to do with you one more time, it's going to sound crazy. I hope you remember us doing it. We loved wrestling together. We watched wrestling in your office Saturday mornings. Do you remember that?
Woo!
Oh God, he's still going. But a lot of them have gone since then. But God, we used to have a lot of fun. It's a different game now too. Wrestling's not the wrestling you and I watched 40 years ago.
No, no. Now it's really spectacular.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
much more spectacular, and uh, not certain matches aren't as enjoyable.
You're right. You're right. Well, Bobby, I don't want to cry, so I'm just going to sign off by saying thank you for giving me the opportunity.
Peter, you deserved it. You did a great job. I I was amazed at how far you took it from the standpoint of writing a newsletter and becoming a really. I think you said to me that I was one of the best known at the time. You became an international star yourself.
Mm.
So I think you did a great job.
I love you, Bobby Knapp.
I love you too, Peter.
God bless.
Bye.